Well, good morning. Happy April 1st. Today we are in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. We're going to look at verses 1 through 10 this morning. Here Paul is continuing a defense of his ministry. And so I'll just begin reading. He says, "Am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have I not seen Jesus Christ our Lord? Are you not my work in the Lord? If I am not an apostle to others, yet doubtless I am to you. For you are the seal of my apostleship in the Lord. My defense to those who examine me is this: Do we have no right to eat and drink? Do we have no right to take along a believing wife, as do also the other apostles and the brothers of our Lord and Cephas, Peter? Or is it only Barnabas and I who have no right to refrain from working? Whoever goes to war at his own expense, who plants a vineyard and does not eat of its fruit, or who tends a flock and does not drink of the milk of the flock. Do I say these things as a mere man? Or does not the law say the same also? For it is written in the law of Moses, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain. Is it oxen God is concerned about? Or does he say it altogether for our sakes? For our sakes, no doubt. This is written that he who plows should plow in hope, and he who threshes in hope should be partaker of his hope." So what's the issue here? What's Paul addressing? So Paul and Barnabas, in their ministry to the church at Corinth, even though Paul was an apostle and had the right to demand the church to support him, he didn't do it. He was a tent maker by trade, and he worked and supported himself in the ministry. And there were some who wanted to illegitimize his ministry and say he was not an apostle, or that he was a lesser than apostle, whatever. And so here is the apostle. He's making the statement that, hey, am I different than, why am I being treated different than the other apostles? Peter, the brother, even James, the brother of Jesus. I mean, they're supported. They're able to eat and drink, and they're able to have wives and live halfway normal lives. Why can't we? It was an issue that he was being held to a different standard. And the church, for whatever reason, was not supporting his ministry. No. He brings up an Old Testament passage in Deuteronomy. I think it's let's see here. It's chapter 25, verse 4. And he quotes it, "You shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain." Is it oxen God is concerned about? Or does he say it altogether for our sakes? Well, if you go back to Deuteronomy 25, he's talking about the treatment of others. He's talking about the treatment of servants and slaves, and then he uses one example of an animal, an oxen. And I believe it makes sense that in the context of that, Moses was just using a, a they were all, it was an agrarian society, so he was using a livestock example to help draw the parallel to how this is how we ought to treat people who serve us. You got to take care of them. You got to take care of their needs. And that's the point he's making here. Now, what's a fair and right amount? That's subject to economic pressures and everything else that we see in the world, right? What's a fair wage? Well, one of the things I would just say, and I don't want to. I know there's been an awful lot made over the last several years about people in some circles in ministry making exorbitant amounts of money. And some of that is through book sales and whatnot, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with anybody being wealthy. The ones that I think are the real heroes, though, are the ones who are like bivocational pastors who work a regular full-time job and shepherd a flock of people, a church. They are the ones who are to be I don't even know what the word, honored. I think it's right and fair that if a church is of a certain size and has a lot of people that require a lot of visits and so forth, that pastor ought to be compensated fairly and taken care of. Insurance and taxes and all those things, it's just the right thing to do. But not to be I think it's Isaiah, and I didn't look it up this morning, so I apologize. But there's a verse in it's in the Old Testament. I could look it up, but basically it says this: Lord, don't let me have too much that I don't look to you. Don't have me so little that I lack. Don't give me too little or too much. Basically, is what the prayer is, and I think it's a good one. It's a good prayer. Or just don't give me too little, but don't give me too much. And what is too much? Well, it's relative, right? I mean, I've been to people's homes in Africa that were nothing more than a building made out of homemade bricks that had a dirt floor, no glass windows, and the people there were very, very thankful to have a roof over their head. I've seen the same thing in Dominican Republic and places like Dominica, and I've seen those people be just thankful and proud of what they had, and they took good care of it. And by that standard, I'm wealthy. But I don't brag on interviews about the new private jet I just got because I got such a good deal on it. Oh, how nauseating. So it's about balance and doing the right thing. A church ought to take care of their pastor, and there ought to be standards for that. And the apostle is just making the argument that I'm an apostle. I have worked hard in the ministry to plant the seed and to water the seed, and I ought to be able to enjoy some of the benefits of that harvest. That's what he's saying. So, how do we apply this to our life? Well, I think it's important that as God's people, we support um, those who feed us spiritually, those who teach us and encourage us, and are at the hospital at our bedside when we're sick and are doing those things. We need to take care of them to the best of our ability. And I don't think it needs to be any precise thing, but just know that I think it's that having the right attitude. This church obviously was divided. Some said, "Well, I support Apollos. I support Paul. I support Cephas. I support just the Lord." So they were the spiritual crowd. But the fact of the matter is that the church was divided, and because of that, they did not support those who labored in their field the way they ought to. So that's what this passage is saying, and I think it just means we need to be good steward of what God has given to us, and support those whom God has placed over us and whom God has entrusted us into their care to minister to us spiritually. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a blessed day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.